Hey guys, so this is the second video in this tutorial series, and in the last one we added our walk animation and from each side, and then we also just lit the idle animation, okay? But in this tutorial what we plan to do is do the punches and the kicks, okay? And that will go for each side, okay? So there's going to be a lot to do with this one, and so let's go ahead and get to it. In the last video I did not mention that in the description for the very first video in this tutorial series there is a GitHub link that links to the sprite sheets that are going to be used in this tutorial series, as well as all the sound files and some of the starter code. Somewhat unpopular, I'm not going to include the code at the end of every video. So it's basically, do you want to follow along? Great, you can get the code as I'm coding it. But if you don't, then that's fine. You can check in on the progress, but there won't be like a code repo for you just to grab code and go from there. So you pretty much have to go through the whole series with me. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and get straight to it. So this is what we had from last time, and what we're going to do is we got to add quite a bit to it. Okay, so one thing I'd like to do is speed up the frame speed. Okay, so when we add punches and kicks, it kind of looks really slow if we leave it at 8. So we're going to go ahead and change this frame speed right here to 6. Okay, and so there's quite a bit that we need to add for our low, medium, punch and all that stuff, and that's going to come right after these 4 animation sequences. Okay, and so basically this is just going to be a lot of numbers. And if you are interested, like I always said, just go to the sprite sheet, and this will be the X and Y on the sprite sheet that this sprite is located. This will be the width and height of that sprite. And so that's, basically the same format throughout. So we're going to create some new variables here. And so for the first one, it's going to be low, medium, punch. Okay. And this is going to be equal to some kind of array. And basically the same array right here. So I'm just going to copy 3 of these, and we'll change the numbers within. Okay. And so here, this is not going to be 1350. It's going to be 0. The Y is going to be 116. The width is going to be 50. Height is 100. 49. 116. 56. And 100. And then this is going to be 114. Y of 116. A width of 42. Nope. I'm sorry, I messed these up. So this is going to be 50. This is not going to be 56. This is going to be a width of 65. And then this width right here is going to be also 50. All right, so we got low, medium, punch. And the low, medium, punch mirror is going to be very similar. So we're just going to go ahead and copy that. Put that to the next line, and we'll just add a mirror onto this one. And so here we're going to be at 1552. That stays the same. This is going to be 42. this is going to be 1489. This is going to be 56. And this is, there should be no difference between this and this one. And later on in the tutorial series, I make sure that there are no differences. It just makes my life easier. But in the earlier, and I have not redone these as I made the game. So I did, you know, going from the mirror image, it's a little bit harder. So, I just kind of fiddled with the numbers, and it still works great. But you know, the numbers are not, the width and height are not the same, even though they are the same sprite, just mirrored. So if that makes sense. The width of this is going to be 42. So we have 42, 56, 42. This is going to be 1552, 1489, and 1438. Okay, perfect. And then we have the high punch. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in, and you can see that. And so for the high punch, we're going to have an X of Y of 167 and 116. The width and height is going to be 50, 100, 217, 116. Basically, you can pause and get these numbers right here. And for the mirror, it is going to be very similar. And so for the mirror, if you look, the widths are all the same, and that's how it should be. Okay, so we have, so this looks good here. And then we have the low, medium, kick. Make sure you're changing these because they are different based on the sprite sheet we're on. This is just going to save us a lot of time copying and pasting, and I know you're just going to pause it and get the numbers on your own. So that takes care of our punches up here. Now we're down to our kicks. We're starting at 0 again. If you look at the kicks, the widths do not exactly line up, but that is fine. The actual images do when played in the game. And then we have our high kick, and so we have the X and Y's, and again here the kicks do not all, the numbers do not line up, but no big deal. Okay, and so we have, basically we set up our key down handler for punches and kicks last time. And so we have no work there to do. So let's go down to draw player 1. And so this is all the same. And if we are on can idle, that looks fine. And then what we want to do is we want to add another else if right here for the different state. Okay, so this is going to be and here I'm just going to copy this in, and we're going to change it up. So if this is equal to kin low medium punch, okay, and so with these attack animations, the frames are going to be they are slightly different, but depending on the attack. And so what I mean is like the first frame of an attack, we may have to shift the player X over, and then for the second frame, the player X may not change. Okay, so we're just going to draw the image just like we did up here. I'm going to bring this up here. And so here we are kind of shifting the image here because we're shifting it by 2 because the sprite needed to be shifted. Okay, so this is helping us kind of shift the sprite so that it looks right with going from a kin idle state to, like, for instance, a low punch state. And so there's no like discontinuity between the two animations. Okay, so this is just making that minor adjustment that needs to happen. And when we go and do our hit boxes and hurt boxes and stuff like that, we will have to adjust it by this much for the hurt boxes and hit boxes, just because we've adjusted it that much to sync on screen. We'll need to adjust it that much to sync with the actual hitbox locations. Okay. So now the mirror punch is going to be a whole lot different. I'm just going to copy this, go down, paste it in, and so this is going to be the mirror. And so for the mirror, what we're going to have to do is we can no longer just like say this single frame is all that, or this single draw image is all that's going to be necessary. We're going to actually have to break it up by frames. So here we're just going to say if P1 frame is equal to 0, we're going to do something. And I'm just shift this in, and I'm going to cut this and put it in. Okay. And so for this first frame, nothing changes here. Okay. The X does not get shifted. But for the second frame, or frame 1, it does shift. And so here it's going to shift in the negative direction by 14. Now, why is that? Well, let's see here. Maybe I can pull up this Ken edited and open it with GIMP. Okay, so the reason that is because here, this is where our frame starts, okay? But here, our frame does not start there anymore. It actually starts way up here at this kick, okay? So there is a big difference from where this should align to where the frame actually starts. And so that's why we need to make these adjustments, especially on this mirrored side. Okay, and so here, Ken low medium punch mirror. This is going to be 14. This is going to be an else if statement. And then here we're just going to have an else statement. And the else statement is basically going to be the I guess I could have rewrote that. In fact, I could just say this. We can get rid of that. And this is going to be an if statement, since this is the only one that changes. And then all others are not going to change at all. Okay. And so that looks good. I'm just going to go ahead and make that change here so that I'll remember that I refactored it in that way. And then so here we're going to have the high punch. And so for the high punch, it's basically like the low medium punch. So just go ahead and copy this, paste it down here. This is going to be an else if statement. So if Ken high punch, we're just going to do this. Okay, we adjust it by 2 because it needs it. All right, now this is a big one. Okay, so the high punch mirror. So the mirror on the high punch, because the fist extends beyond where the frame should start, we actually have to change quite a bit. Okay, so let's see here. Not quite sure why this is saying -5, but we'll leave it in there for right now. But we'll have to change this, because if this is -5, it means that this should really be changed up here, right in here somewhere. So we should be changing these numbers down here and not within this. But it doesn't matter really where you change it, but we want to be consistent. So I'll probably get rid of this in the future. But anyways, so for the kin high punch mirror, if the frame is 0, we're going to subtract 5 on the X. If the frame is 1, we're going to subtract 6. If the frame is 2, we're going to subtract 27, 3, -8, and otherwise it's going to be a +1. Okay, so that's all that's changed from frame to frame is the player 1 X. Okay, and so that looks good. Now, the low medium kick. So go ahead and pause it and go ahead and get these numbers down for each frame. And so what we want to do, and a lot of this is just going to be copy and pasting. And what I would do is just get this if statement and just paste it over and over again. Now, don't copy from here and paste it here, because the name of the animation sequence changes. Okay, so if you are going to copy it from here, make sure that you make that change in every one of these, or it's not going to work. Okay, or you're going to get some wacky animations. Okay, so our next one is going to be our low medium kick. So quite a bit changes in our low medium kick. So on frame 0, our X is shifted by -7, and our Y is shifted by -1, and that goes throughout the whole P1Y. Okay, and then the P1X for frame 1 is -18, and then frame 2 is -7. Okay, so I'll let you pause that and get that. Now, for the mirrored images, it's actually it's different than this. Okay, and so here for the mirror images, we so basically you can copy this and then just paste mirror in front of every one of these if you like, and that's one way of getting from there to here. Okay, and so for the mirror, the first frame, nothing changes except the Y. And then for the second frame, we shift by -6, and then the -1 on the Y. And basically, we have the same situation as above. So this could possibly be changed to that. Okay, so if frame is this, otherwise, all other things, we're just going to do this. Okay, so that looks good. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this change. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to make that change, because I know there's a reason why I did that now. Because it has to do with the hurt and hit boxes. Okay, so we'll need the frame 0, 1, and 2 separated out like that. Okay, so for the high kick, and the high kick is separated out too, because when we get to our hurt boxes, it changes from frame to frame. Okay, so go ahead and pause it here and get these numbers down. Keeping in mind that copying and pasting on this type of game is your best friend. Okay, basically a fighting game is like a frame by frame, collision. Okay, so for every frame, the colliders are all different, and you have to get all the numbers exact. So it's very tedious, as I have said before. Okay, so you've paused it, you've gotten these down. This should really be an else if structure, so we're just going to change that up. And then we can actually just move this to an else. Now, why does it matter if this is an an elf? Why does it matter if this is an if and why not just have another if here and then another if and then another if? Because basically, if this is an if and then an else if, and this is the condition of P1 frame, it's going to hit this right here, and it's going to say, oh, well, I don't need to do these anymore. Okay, I've already gotten my true condition, and so I don't need to check these because, hopefully they would be different than this one. Okay, and so basically it makes your code, especially if you have a lot of these, it makes your code a little bit more performant. Now, I've never said that I'm going to be like the model of performance-based programming here. And in fact, it might be the opposite. But I will point those things out as I see them. Okay, so now that we got that down, we are going to look at our controls. Okay, and so this left press looks right. This right press looks good. And what we want to do is we want to add the low and medium punch. Okay, and so one thing about the punch is that I can hit the punch, the 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6 buttons as fast as I like. And in the game, as it's currently set up, it will fire a punch every time. So what we want to do is we want to create an array. Okay, and in this array, what we're going to do is we're going to call it it should be non-interruptible states. So right here under frame speed, we're going to create an array called non-interruptible states, meaning that if this state is currently being fired, it cannot be interrupted to fire off other states. Okay, and so this is just going to be an array of all the things that should not interrupt it. Okay, and for us, it's going to be the high kick mirror, the high punch mirror, low medium kick mirror, low medium punch mirror. So go ahead and get those down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back down to our controls and make sure you're not forgetting the quotation marks. They're important. We're going to go back down to our controls, and let's see here, right here. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to set up that low medium punch. So this is going to be an else if, so it's if left press, if right pressed. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to do an else if here. We're going to say else if, and then we're going to do something inside of those parentheses. So here what we're going to do is I'm going to add another parenthesis there, and we're going to say low punch or medium punch. So if one of those buttons is fired off and it is not Okay, so if we've hit the low punch or medium punch and our current state is not in this non-interruptible state. So if our current state is medium punch, for instance, it's going to be inside of here, okay? And that's going to make this true, where we want this statement to actually be false, okay? So one thing that would make this false is if this is idle, and idle's not in the interruptible state, so this statement right here is going to be returned as false, okay? And so that would make this fire off, okay? So what we want to do here is, if they've hit the low punch or medium punch, what we want to do is we don't want that low or medium punch to rapid fire. Okay, we want them to have to push the button every time for low or medium punch to work. So we're going to say low punch is equal to false. And then we're going to say medium punch is equal to false. So just set them both to false. And we're going to do this kind of structure again. So we want to say, well, if the P1X, is such and such, then we're going to punch as a mirror, or, a regular punch. Punching right or punching left. So we're going to say if P1X is greater than P2X, we are going to set the player state. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And the player state is going to be Ken low medium punch mirror. Okay. And the frames, there's going to be 3 frames for this punch. It is not auto repeat, and so it should go to Ken idle mirror. Okay, and then otherwise we just want Ken low medium punch, and it's going to go to Ken idle. Okay. Okay, so the high punch is very similar. I'm just going to actually copy this else if statement. And we are just going to say high punch. Okay. And in fact, I can get rid of these parentheses right here. And it's not in the interruptible. And so I'm just going to set high punch equal to false. And this is going to be Ken high punch. Ken high punch. And there are going to be 5 frames for our high punch. Okay, so that looks good. And basically, what we want to do now is copy this whole else if structure right here, paste it down below. So these were just pasted in. And here what we want to do is change this to low kick, medium kick. Basically, we're getting all the kicks out of the way easily because the kicks and punches are very similar. So all we have to do is change that P to a K, and everything works as it should. Okay, so that's easy enough. Now we have our low kicks and our high kicks programmed in. Okay, so one thing that we want to do is, we've already started it here. If we're not pressing any buttons, we want it to go to an idle animation. Okay, so we're going to add to this else if. Now there may be another way of doing it. Maybe we just have an else and it goes straight to the idle animation, but let's just continue doing this as is, and then maybe later on in this series I'll look at that. So here we're going to say and I'm just going to bring this down to the next line. Not, wait, and player one state does not equal can load medium punch. Okay. So basically that's that. And we're gonna, this is gonna be low medium punch mirror. This is gonna be low medium high punch mirror. This is gonna be HP. HP mirror. And I'm just going to copy this right here because all we have to do now is just do the P to a K. Okay, and so now that looks great, and I think we should have something that works. So let's go ahead and test it. Oops, did that again. Okay, let's see if there's any errors because I'm getting some slow animations. Okay, so let's go and check this out. Okay, so there is one thing that I'm missing here. And actually I had to pause the video just to check it out, but it's actually fairly trivial. So what we want to do is we want to, on the controls, when we like say, well, we're going to throw a medium punch, what we want to do is set the P1 frame back to 0. Okay? And we have to do this for pretty much all of these, and so it might be that it, you know, we can't put it at the, we can't just put it at the end of the thing because we, for the walking animations, we don't want it to be set to 0. But for each of these, we do want it to set to 0. So within each one of these if and else if statements. And so that takes care of that. Now let's see where we're at. Okay, I think I know exactly what's going on there. Okay, so here we are, probably didn't set it up so that it's the right, so which one is that? So the left punch So the mirror punch, low, medium. So let's go ahead and look at that first. So up here in the low, medium punch, so here's the mirror, and we just copied from this to get to here. But since we are in the mirror part of it, what we want to do is make sure that we are drawing from the Ken mirror sprite sheet. Okay, so that's important. So that takes care of that. And I'm having a feeling that the, which one was it? So that's the high kick mirror. And let's see here. So this is high kick and well, guess what? It looks as if we forgot to put in the high kick. Okay, so that's what's going on there. So the high kick mirror is very similar to the high kick, except the Y's are going to be slightly different. Okay, so as I was saying, the player one state for the mirror kick was not actually put in. So if you want to go ahead and pause it, you know, here's frames 0 through 4. And now we should be up and running. Okay, so that direction works fine. Okay, so we need to actually go look at the low and medium mirror punch. So let's go ahead and look at that, and I'm sure it's the same issue here where we didn't have the mirror. So low, medium mirror punch right here. Okay, and we are drawing from the Ken sheet, and we should be drawing from the Ken mirror sheet. What did I leave out here? Oh wait, I messed that up. So here, low, medium punch, we should be drawing from Ken. That's right. Aha. So this is Ken low, medium punch mirror, and we're drawing from all of these. We just copied and pasted it. But each one of these has to be drawing from that animation sequence that we set up at the top. So I'm kind of glad we had these problems so you can see what they are, because we're not going to add all the moves. At some point we're going to say that this is going to be done, and you are going to then, if you want to, continue on your own once you know the basics for the fighting game mechanics. Okay, so that looks like it's going to be it for this tutorial. I believe in the next tutorial what we're going to be covering is adding a fireball, the Hadoken fireball, and so there's going to be quite a bit to do with that. And so yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. If you're following along and this series interests you, make sure that you like and subscribe. Thank you very much.